Hello and welcome to another video on the NSD channel. Today we're going to talk about building onboarding experiences and why you need to do it today versus later. Most SaaS startups face the challenge of prioritizing different things to do based on the money they've raised, which is usually little or the little money that they're using to bootstrap. And obviously it's no secret that they need to dedicate a lot of their resources, not just financially but time-wise too, to developing and perfecting the SaaS product. But some of it at some point really needs to go to building a strong onboarding experience, and that's just not money but also your time, focus, and attention. And I'll run you through a few reasons how to build an onboarding experience that cost different amounts, and I think you can either look at the ideas that I'll present in this video or mix and match them together, or maybe simply use them as inspiration for you to build an onboarding experience for your SaaS tool that works for your users and works for your user growth and retention goals. So before we get started and list all those ways in which you can build strong onboarding experiences, I'd just like to remind you why a strong onboarding experience is vital to any product, whether it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what kind of users you have. But at the end of the day, many SaaS founders out there, you may be one of them, are coming out with new, unique, and innovative SaaS tools. You're probably one of them. And you know very well that these are being launched with different kinds of marketing budgets that don't really size up that well to the strongest competitors or alternative tools within whatever industry you're operating in. And that is why you really need to focus on building a strong onboarding experience, because it's easy for a user to find and discover your product but really not see and connect with the value that it truly offers. And that's largely because the way that your tool solves a problem or the UI could be so new and unconventional that some kind of guidance is needed in real time as a user uses your product. And so that is exactly why we're going to look at different ways in which you can build strong user onboarding experiences. Number one, creating videos or written guides that help users get started. So you can create content such as a well-curated video or simply any written piece that serves as a getting started guide to using your SaaS tool. This content can focus on introducing and orienting a user with the key features and ways in which your tool solves a problem, and it can be also possibly the cheapest option on this list that we'll talk about today. And that's because it's easy to put together. It's just a matter of either yourself or somebody who's or maybe a contracted writer could listen to your ideas and put them into great writing, right? Or you could hire a video editor to help you curate something special that does the job. But at the end of the day, the goal here is to leverage content, which is a cheaper form of or way to execute on onboarding experience, to make sure that users have something to go to that they can see very early on in their journey with your product, so that they understand the full value it offers. Now, another added advantage of going this route is that you can really turn whatever content you come up with into a great piece for marketing or SEO. Whether you make a video published on YouTube or you end up writing a blog article on your very own branded blog, then that helps a lot in some ways. Or you could even have a blog article published as a guest on a bigger blog that you don't own, for more attention and sort of more visibility on the internet. But all in all, it's killing two birds with one stone, and really one of the cheapest ways, if not the cheapest, you can actually build some kind of onboarding experience. And integrating this within your app is actually possible, because all you'd have to do is embed a video maybe on the homepage, triggered by a user's first login or the first few logins, which shouldn't be too hard for your team to build in as a custom event within your own tool. Next up is building tooltips or information pop-ups into your SaaS tool. So you've probably seen those on websites. Mostly when you're filling out forms, there are information icons that you can hover on or click on to give more context and clarity as to what you need to do. Those too can be something that you add to your SaaS tool. Most founders and use cases or cases that I've seen, the SaaS teams have built this on their own customly, Sometimes they are poorly written, the information or the instructions and information that you find in this tooltips or information pop-ups. Sometimes the content is poorly written, so you may want to have some kind of writer or your marketing person look over what you're actually typing into your app. And also, if you're gonna custom code this, make sure that you make it the easiest for you to actually come back, add and remove some of these pop-ups, or essentially just change the content and information that's in them. But this is one of the best ways and cheapest ways that you can actually build the onboarding experience. The only challenge here is not all information, icons or tooltips are visible as obvious places to go to actually give context, or the context that the user may feel they are lacking. And so obviously, even if you pack it with great information, a user may not know what is actually behind clicking or hovering on an information icon. So you may want to think about that a bit and see what you can do to make them stand out, or maybe make it clear to the user that this is a tool they can use throughout your SaaS application for them to actually understand and get better education on how your tool works. The third and final way that I'll talk about is building actual in-app interactive guides. So these guides, you've probably seen them somewhere. It's an onboarding or welcome guide that pops up, and most cases you can click next. So there's a series of like presentations or slides, right, that you can slide through on each single or individual guide that appears. These guides can be activated by different things, events. So a trigger could be when a user accesses a page or a feature for the very first time. This guide pops up. Maybe there are 3 slides, and the slides can even change position across the page or the UI to introduce the user to different buttons and options that are relevant to how this feature or how that page is actually best utilized. The great thing about these is that this is becoming sort of the standard of onboarding experiences and what users appreciate and expect from a SaaS tool. However, though, they are a bit more pricey. Depends how you look at it. For instance, building tooltips or information pop-ups customly within your application costs time from your developers or somebody on your team. So if you look at it and quantify or value their time, it may not necessarily be that big of a deal to actually just use a tool like User Guiding, Pendo, or Stonely, which help users build these interactive guides and integrate them into their applications. The subscriptions cost different amounts, but definitely nothing that would be too far away from what it would cost in labor for somebody to build out custom pop-ups or tooltips. So the other thing I'd like to say about building actual in-app interactive guides is that they can also be custom built, and that's basically doing tooltips or information pop-ups, but making them a lot more dynamic with buttons to press. You can go previous or next, or as a user on any page selects different elements, then different interactive guides are triggered. So guides are essentially a more dynamic version of tooltips or information pop-ups. This can be custom built too, but as you can imagine, it becomes more complex in terms of building it. So the time spent and the money spent in terms of labor time is actually a high. And then again, coming back to actually amend this, and we all know that your SaaS tool keeps evolving, you keep changing and bringing new features, so it's going to be hard to maintain this. So you really may want to consider whether doing this, going the custom path is easier for you than just using a tool like User Guiding, Pendo, or Stonely, which, by the way, Stonely, interesting fact, does interactive user guides, but they also allow you to build a knowledge base and also provide customer support all in one house. So I'm not endorsing Stonely, I'm just informing you about Stonely because it's one of the least popular known tools that are relevant to a SaaS product or team. So with all those 3 options, and I hope you were able to whether now or later you're able to look at them and come up with an idea that works for your own SaaS tool. But I hope that inspires you to find something that works and for you to actually get going and get started with building a strong user onboarding experience. because again, I cannot emphasize how many times users probably come across a new product, and kudos to you for getting them to that point. And so you do not want to lose them by them not being clear as to how your user interface works, and how they can actually extract the promised value from all the features within your product. It's something that shouldn't be costly. You can think across those 3 ideas and come up with your own to build something. But I hope you understand that the takeaway message here is you do need to build a user onboarding experience. It's imperative, and I hope and wish that it all goes well for you. Good luck and happy SaaSing.